Hello and welcome. I'm Susan. This is Comeback Yoga, and we'll be practicing together for 50 minutes. Um, let's start seated. Comeback Yoga is a nonprofit. We offer yoga and meditation classes to people who have a military background, military who are serving in the military or who have served in the military. We also offer these classes to friends and family of people who are serving in the military or who have served in the military. We have a website, comebackyoga.org, and we are on PBS, and we have our YouTube channel, and we offer, of course, in-person classes. So if you are interested in joining us for things other than this method and other than this way of taking class, please, I encourage you to go to our website. That's comebackyoga.org and contact our amazing staff, find out more about us, and you can just be part of our community. We appreciate you so much, and we are so grateful to be able to bring classes to you. Let's get started. We'll sit tall with your spine tall, and focus on your alignment, pulling your chin back slightly, tucking your low ribs under, sitting comfortably as possible on your sit bones. Put one hand inside the other, thumbs touching, and your arms down by your sides. Turn your attention and your focus and your awareness to your breath, your inhales and your exhales. Breathe gently and notice. Notice your breath, notice how you're breathing. Let your gaze settle down. You can bring your gaze down towards the floor. You can close your eyes. Now is a good time to consider what you want to get out of your yoga practice. Maybe you want to focus on stretching a particular part of your body. Maybe you want to work on strength or flexibility, or maybe there are a bunch of things that you want to work with or work on. And you can let that intention, your focus, be your guide for choosing things that you do during class. A lot of your practice is really internal. You're making choices about how you want to practice and what you want to focus on. Take your fingers and interlace your fingers and place the backs of your fingers underneath your chin. Inhale to lift your elbows a little. Exhale to let your elbows come towards each other, and you can lift your chin a little. Inhaling to level out your chin and lift your elbows. You're pressing your chin into your fingers, stretching your fingers and your hands. Exhaling and letting your elbows come back towards each other, and you can lift your chin a little. Let's do one more. Inhaling to lift, leveling out your chin. Exhaling, allowing your hands to come back towards each other, elbows come towards each other, and lifting your chin a little. Taking your hands away from your face, your chin. Rotate your upper body towards the left, elbow leads. Take your hand snap towards your left leg, bend your elbows, and lean forward. Straighten your arms, lift yourself up. Switch the lace of your fingers so your other index finger is on top. Level out your forearms and rotate your body, upper body towards the right. Using the strength, feeling the strength of your side bodies, your front and your back of your torso. Take your hands down towards your right leg and lean forward. You can bend your elbows, stretch your back, straightening your arms, lifting your torso. Keep your right hand on your right leg and take your left arm around in big circles. You can stay tall with your torso stationary and just your arm moving, or you can let your torso lean from left to right as you move your arm. One's not better than the other, but one might suit your focus and your intention better than the other. Let's do one more round. And this time, take your left arm out to the side, wrap your left arm around behind your body, and stretch the sides of your body. You can turn your gaze past your left shoulder. Lift your torso, point your nose forward. Left hand on your left knee, your right arm reaches out and around. You can stay right like this with your right arm moving in a circle and your torso remaining stationary. Or you can take your torso and lean both directions. You can lean to the right and lean to the left. Maybe you do something different on the right side than you did on the left side. That's also fine. You don't have to be exactly the same on both sides. Taking your hands to the tops of your knees, fingers on the inside, elbows on the outside, bend your elbows out and lean forward. Inhaling to lift up, taking your hands back behind you, fingertips on the floor, and lift your rib cage. Hands to the tops of your legs, or you can walk your hands forward onto the floor, perhaps leaning forward a little bit more as you exhale. And inhaling into back bend, lifting your rib cage. We'll do one more like this. And you're matching your own breath cycle. I might be moving more quickly or more slowly than your breath goes. And you're moving with your own breath cycle, not with mine. Once you're finished with your next inhale and exhale, you can place your hands either on the floor or on the tops of your legs and wiggle your sit bones back a little. And find your crossed legs. Take your left forearm across the tops of your legs and your right hand to your right hip and turn towards the right. And switch sides, right forearm, cross, your left arm wraps around behind you. Now we're doing like this. Left forearm down, right arm wraps around behind you. And right forearm down, and your left arm wraps around behind you. Inhale to lift, exhale to tilt and wrap. Inhaling to lift, and exhaling to tilt and wrap. Inhaling to lift. Let's uncross our legs. We've been sitting cross-legged for a little bit. You can stick your legs long out in front of you, roll through your feet and your ankles. You can reach down and hold on to your right leg. Draw your foot up to the floor. Interlace your fingers on the front of your shin. Use the connection of your arms to your leg. Lean back and straighten your spine. Press out through your other leg. Switch sides. Left foot onto the floor. Interlace your fingers on the front of your left shin and lean back. You're using the connection, the length of your arms. Stretch out. Also pressing out through your right leg. You can gently bring your toes back toward your shin. Find the length of your spine. And soften. Bring your knees over one side. and your feet out to the side and cross midline of your body. We've been doing a couple of things here, crossing midline of our bodies. And swing your legs around, bring it over to the other side, and turn away from your feet. Orient yourself along the long edge of your mat. Stretch your legs long. And it doesn't matter which side you turn to first because we're just going to do the other side. You can come down onto your forearm and your bottom hip and find length in your spine and stretch out your legs and take your top arm into the air. This is our first variation of side plank. Release down. Let's face down towards the floor. You can do any variation of facing down plank that you want. I'll show you a couple different variations. One might be simply to lift your hips slightly with your forearms on the floor. One might be to tuck your toes under and float your knees. You might cross your ankles and lift your hips. There are a lot of different variations. You could put your palms flat on the floor and lift your hips. Lots and lots of variations of forearm plank. Try to keep your head in line with the rest of your spine as you breathe. And maybe you've been in forearm plank this whole time. Let your hips come down. If they were up, let's roll over onto the other side. Finding our side plank variation. Forearm on your forearm plank. So your right forearm now is on the floor and you're lengthening your body. You can take your top arm into the air. Focus on, so there'll be a tendency to kind of rock forward or rock back. You can indulge that a little bit, then come into a long line. Find the strength of your center of your body. Slightly tuck your chin, slightly tuck your low ribs, and slightly engage your glutes. Maybe you could even lift your top leg a little bit and find a lot of length in your side bodies, a lot of strength in your core. Breathe. And soften. Bend your knees, roll back onto your stomach. We're finding our forearm plank now. Try a different variation. You can do another variation. Interlacing your fingers is a nice variation. You walk your knees towards each other and float your hips. You can keep your toes tucked under and come up onto your forearms and toes. If you want to do a different variation of plank, prefer to be on straight arms, you could do that too. Sometimes people come onto their knees and some people come onto their feet. You've got lots of variations available to you. Choose which one makes best sense for you in the moment. And lower back down onto your stomach. Let's come all the way down onto the floor and stretch yourself long. On your mat, reach your arms out in front of you. You can use your fingers to walk your arms a little longer and lift one leg, lengthen it, put it back down. Lift your other leg, lengthen it, put it back down. You're on the tops of your toes and all of your fingertips, and lift your torso a little bit. Lower your torso, bend your elbows, slide your hands on either side of your rib cage. Keep your elbows tucked in by your sides and lift your rib cage a little. And lower your rib cage. Take one and both arms back by your sides and lift your rib cage. And lower your rib cage. Bring your hands on either side of your chest. Push yourself up. Tuck your legs underneath you and let your hips move back toward your heels. Maybe your hips don't do that. Maybe your body doesn't do that. That's cool. You can do any variation of curling. This is curling with your hands and your feet, your hands, your feet, and your shins on the floor with your tailbone tucked under. That's curling. This is also curling with your forearms on the floor. Maybe one leg's long because you don't want to bend your knees like that. And you can see you're choosing, using your awareness of your body and how you feel today to choose the best way of curling, stretching out your spine. Next inhale, you're lifting yourself up. and come up onto your knees. Once you're on your knees, we'll find a couple of kneeling positions. First one is crossbar pose. You can turn to the side like I am on my mat, or you can let your legs stick off of your mat. Shift, stick your leg out, come onto your heel with your toes up. This is the basic variation of the pose. You can see how, again, there might be a tendency, like we did in our forearm plank, might be a tendency to kind of let your hips lean back or let your hips come forward. Try to keep yourself in good alignment with your chin slightly tucked, low ribs slightly tucked, tailbone slightly tucked. Strong torso, strong foundation. If you want to test your balance a little more, your heels on the floor with your toes up. If you want a little more balanced foundation, more support, roll your foot down and keep your foot firm on the floor. Inhale and glide your arms out to T, and we'll tilt. Left arm down and right arm up. If you were feeling a lot of tilt earlier and did a lot of stretching in our beginning positions, you could tilt a little more, curl a little more. If you're feeling like you want more support, more strength, more length in your side body, stay a little taller. Lift more up towards the ceiling rather than tilting and stretching, finding that lateral flexion to the side. This hand might stay a little bit higher than your knee, or depending on how long your arm is, a little bit lower than your knee, because pressing on your knee inward like that, maybe that gives you a sensation that is disagreeable. And give yourself the best sensation in your side stretch, and then we'll lift. Okay, variation 2 of side plank. Your hand comes all the way down to the floor and top arm lifts. This is one knee down and one leg long. With both arms long, put your both hands down onto the floor, walk yourself around, take your leg that's sticking out behind you, bring it over to the other side, tuck your toes under and press out through your heel. Left shoulder forward, and a big stretch through your left side of your body. Bring yourself back into your kneeling position. Roll through your shoulders. Let's find camel pose. Hands behind you. Lift your rib cage and lean into camel. Camel's firm foundation. Knees, hips, and your long spine. Your chin stays slightly tucked. Lean. Give yourself so it might look like this. You're keeping your hips over your knees and allowing your spine to curl backwards, stretching out the front side of your body. And lift. Let's find the other side. Back to our crossbar position. Your left leg's your foundation leg. Your right leg sticks out. Examine how you feel on this side. And if you want extra support even more with this foot down to the side, you could also tuck your back toes under, and that gives you more grip on the floor. If you want more grip, you can tuck your left toes under as well. Or you can challenge your balance more with your right heel on the floor, toes up, and the top of your left foot on the floor. You're finding your alignment. There's going to be a tendency to lean back, let your torso tilt forward, or to lean forward, or even to let your hips wiggle from side to side. Try to keep everything in good alignment. Turning on your core strength, you can kind of move your thighs towards each other, pull up and in at the base of your body, and lengthen your sides. It gives you a strong stance and lots of room to breathe. Take our arms out and tilt. One arm down. Your arm can rest on your leg or can float above your leg. This arm comes up and maybe over, and you're stretching out. Give yourself a big, long stretch out. You're lengthening more than you lean. See, I could see that. I could kick my hip back out. And that makes it a little, for me, easier, less work for my torso. If If I say long, then it's a lot more work for lengthening and stretching my torso. You can try both, feel the difference, see what works better for you. You're inhaling to lift. Let's find our side plank variation to left hand all the way down to the floor, fingertips, or maybe your palm. I like my palm on the floor. Starting to stretch out my wrist a little. You could also do a fist with your knuckles on the floor, top arm in the air. You're finding this tendency to let your hips move back and you're lengthening, finding the strength of your torso, strength of your breath, strength of your side bodies. Try putting all your fingers together, make a flat paddle, thumb included. Breathe. Oh, you can turn your gaze up towards the ceiling. Why not? And turn yourself down towards the floor and walking your hands around your leg that's out to the side. Bring it back behind you. Tuck your toes under, press back through your heel. And you can lift your back thigh, or you can let your knee come down to the floor too. See which variation is working better for you. You might be somewhere in between knee bent and lifting your thigh. Bringing your right leg back over to its own side. Let's sit either with your hips on your heels or kneeling. You can move yourself back towards the back of your mat, hands on the tops of your legs, and look at the expanse of your mat, the space that you have. Take your hands down towards the floor and stretch yourself out into a forward fold. Lift yourself up. Walk your hands forward. Right knee comes forward, left leg goes long, left leg floats. Take your right hand onto the floor, start to turn and open to the side, and try to take your left hand into the air. Now, maybe you don't turn to the side. Maybe you keep your left hand on your left hip, or maybe you keep your left hand on the floor as you turn a little. And square your hips again, both hands down. That was our third variation of side plank. Both knees down, tuck your toes under, your hips move back toward your heels. Glide forward into upward facing dog. This is a very simple stretch out, front side of your body, tops of your knees on the floor. I'm going to roll back into any variation of downward facing dog. You could have your arms outstretched in front of you and your shins on the floor, or you could have your toes on the floor and your knees off the floor with your forearms on the floor. You could have your hands on the floor and your feet on the floor with your hips pointing up to where the wall and the ceiling meet. Lots of variations. Breathe in and breathe out. Knees down. Shifting weight onto your left knee, stretching your right leg long back into bird dog. Starting to open to the side, left hand stays down. Opening. This is quarter moon, our third variation of side plank. Focusing on lengthening your side bodies. Breathe. Nice work. Both hands down, both knees down. Hips back toward your heels. Slide your hands towards the tops of your legs. Either sit up or be kneeling. Either way. Let's tuck our toes under. Hands on the floor. Rock yourself back into squat position. Hips pointing down, tailbone pointing down towards the floor. Elbows on the insides of your knees, hands together. Look down towards the top of your mat. Take your left hand down to the floor. Your left arm's on the inside of your left knee. Your right arm wraps around behind you. This can be turned into a bind by letting your left hand sneak around, and maybe your hands connect on the outside of your left hip. Unwrapping your bind, hands down towards the floor. Straighten your legs into a forward fold. And bend your knees. Come up to standing up. You're standing up, looking down towards the top of your mat. Hands together in same on all four sides pose. Inhale to reach forward. Exhale to sit back into the chair pose. Inhale to reach up, stretch up towards the ceiling. Your arms can come forward and up, or maybe your arms reach all the way up towards the ceiling, up to you, and sit back into the chair pose. And fold over your legs. And sitting back down into the squat position. Your right hand can wrap around the front of your body. Your left arm can wrap around behind you. And you're finding perhaps a connection of your hands on the outside of your right hip, or not. You don't have to touch your hands together. They're just moving in that direction. Hands back down onto the floor. Tailbone pointing down. Straighten your legs and into the forward fold. Inhale to lift. Stand tall. Look down at the expanse of your mat, hands together. Inhaling to reach up. Exhaling, arms out. Arms down to the floor. Take your right arm, you're at the back of your mat. Take your right arm and your right leg forward. Step forward. And this is a standing variation of the side plank. This is the half moon pose. There are a lot of different ways you can do half moon. This is variation 1. You don't even have to lift your left foot off the mat, but you could keep your toes on the floor. That's kind of variation 1. Variation 2 is lifting your leg in the air. Variation 3, see, I've got a wall behind me. I can scooch back to the wall and tilt and put my hand on the floor. But also, you could put your hand on the floor and then extend. So let's try that variation. Put your hand down onto the floor. It's a little bit outside of your front foot. And then lift your back leg. And focus on the length of your spine, your balance, extension of your body, the perfect alignment of your head, rib cage, and pelvis. Breathe. Back to standing. Nice job. Ease yourself into warrior 2. Front knee bends, back legs long. Your front heel more or less bisects your back arch in a line, and your hips are kind of angled towards the long edge of your mat. Take your arms, extend. Put all your fingers together, thumbs included, flat paddles pointing down towards the floor. Refine your posture by slightly lifting your arches, by moving your thighs towards each other, by lengthening your spine, wrapping your muscles around, like kind of like a spiral up through the crown of your head, and really sinking your weight, and keep sinking your weight into the parts of your feet that press down. You can imagine like your footprints that you leave in the sand. You kind of exaggerate those footprints. Your arms come down. Let's put our hands on the floor. Step back to plank. Do an upward facing dog and a downward facing dog. Take your time doing this. You can do other variations. Sometimes people like to do the half plank where you let your upper arms come close to the sides of your body and then lengthening into upward facing dog and pulling back into downward facing dog. We'll all meet in the downward facing dog position, like you're folding your body in half at your hips and you're having a long line from your tailbone down through your fingertips and a long line from your tailbone down through your heels. Walking your hands back toward your feet, coming back to the back of your mat. Bend your knees, come up with strong legs and a long spine, and look down towards the top of your mat. Hands together. We're in same on all four sides pose. Let's find this variation of a standing half side plank, stepping forward with your left arm and your left leg. Lift your back heel, your turn to towards the long edge of your mat. You're already in it, focusing on this length, this strength of the alignment of your torso, head, rib cage, hips. Your arms and legs are simply extensions. You could also do this variation where you lift your leg, tilt, and aim out. You could do the variation where you lean against the wall, if you've got a wall, or a chair. You could reach out and hold onto a chair, side of your bed, whatever you've got. You could put your hand on the floor and then extend out into this variation. Side plank variation. This is half moon pose. Whatever variation you chose, lift yourself up again. Let's walk ourselves out into warrior two. Your front knees bent, your back legs long. If you look at your front heel, you can kind of draw the line back roughly towards the middle of your back foot. Your hips are kind of angled towards the long edge of your mat. Then your arms extend from your center out through your fingertips, from your center up through the crown of your head, from your center down through your hip bones, from your center out in through your toes. Put all your fingertips together, all your fingers together, your thumbs included. This time turn your palms up. Different sensation in your shoulders, and you can bring your gaze past your front hand. And look out. And all the things you did to refine your posture last time, you can do again. Move your thighs towards each other, lengthen your spine, bend your elbows a little, lift your arches a little, let the weight pour into your footprints. Your arms come down. We're doing the same variation, both hands to the floor, step back to plank, do an upward facing dog, downward facing dog, hands down. And stepping back, upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Breathe. And refine your position in downward facing dog by lifting and lowering your heels, by spreading your fingers wide, by allowing your shoulder blades to kind of wrap around the sides of your body, by lengthening your spine, and by softening and being aware of your inhales and your exhales. You might find yourself doing things like looking at the lint on your mat, observing your toes. You might notice just little small things in your body. All of that is part of your practice. Everything, every distraction, everything that you might think of as something extra, something different, it's all part of your practice. So breathe in, notice what you're noticing, observe what you're observing, and walk your hands back toward your feet, bend your knees, roll yourself up to standing, strong legs, long spine. Hands together at the top of your mat. Look at the expanse of your mat. See the space that you have for your mat. Shift weight onto your right foot. Step your left foot forward. We'll do a balanced position, tree pose. Take your right foot to the floor. You've got lots of different options here. I'm going to turn so you can see toes on the floor, toes on the inside of your lower leg, foot on the inside of your thigh. You could cross your ankle in front of your leg, anywhere along that space. You could bring your foot out to the side a little. You have tons and tons of options. So find an option that works for you and then focus on length of your spine. Breathe. If you fall over, you fall over. It's not a big deal. You can use the wall, you can use your furniture, use your gaze, breathe, and step down with your floating foot. We're going right into the other leg. So now your other leg is your foundation leg. You're switching around, and your toes can be on the floor, foot can be on the inside of your lower leg. I usually use a hand to scooch my foot up to the inside of my thigh. You can hold on to your leg while it's up. All kinds of different options here. Yeah, choose one, make it your own, or follow my lead. Good job. And we're stepping towards the top of your mat, inhaling to reach up to the ceiling, exhaling, arms out to the walls, hinge forward into a half forward fold, stretch out the backside of your body. Bend your knees, come up with strong legs and a long spine. And we're at the top of the mat, facing forward. Shift weight onto your left foot, touch your right toes back behind you. Roll down onto your right heel. Keep your legs long and tilt into pyramid pose. Open into triangle. Left arm down, right arm up. Hands together. Rotate. Inhale to lift up. This is a big shift. Pick up your front foot and touch your toes back behind you. Roll your heel down. Hinge at your hips and open into triangle. Right arm down, left arm up. Hands together, square your shoulders, bend your knees, lift your torso, and step together at the back of your mat once again. Inhale to reach up to the ceiling. Exhale, arms out to the walls, and hinge forward. Hands on the fronts of your legs. Let's ease back into the squat position. Sit back. You can sit all the way down, hips on your heels, pointing your tailbone down towards the floor, elbows on the tops or on the insides of your knees. Fingers point up towards the ceiling. Hands down, walk yourself forward, forward, forward. Let's come into table and move through cat and cow. Lift and lower your stomach. And we're walking ourselves forward. We're finding our last variation of side plank. I'm going to give you a couple different options. You can do one of the ones that we did before. Right, we did a bunch of different variations. Or you can do this variation where you have a long arm on the bottom and turn and lift your top arm. Come out of your side plank. Your knees come down to the floor. You can sit up and roll through your wrists. Move through your shoulders. Put your hands together. Notice any difference in your breathing or in your awareness or your senses, anything you're noticing. Then we'll ease forward into other side, any variation of side plank. You can do any variation, or you can do this variation where you're on your sides of your feet, your bottom arm, your hips off the floor. Both hands down, both knees down. Let's tuck our legs underneath our bodies, curl over into child's pose. There are lots of different ways to do child's pose. You could bring your knees a little wider and let your torso come down on the insides of your legs. Sometimes that can give you a deeper way of inhaling and exhaling. Perhaps you'd like to keep your head a little bit above the floor. because you don't want to bring your head down for whatever reason, it's fine. Lift yourself up from your child's pose and let's sit just like we did at the beginning of class. This time you can interlace your fingers and touch your thumbs and hold space for your torso. Let your breath settle down. Breathe gently, inhaling and exhaling. Take your right foot in front of your left shin, tucked underneath. Hold onto your leg and sit up. Bring your left elbow to the inside, the top, or the outside of your opposite knee and turn. You can take your opposite arm and bring it around behind you. Face forward. Bring yourself back into your cross-legged pose, hands on the tops of your legs, roll through your shoulders. You can bring yourself forward into forward fold and lift yourself up and lean back into a back bend, fingertips on the floor. And we'll try the other side. Your right leg tucks underneath your left leg, left foot on the floor. Your right elbow comes to the inside, the top, or the outside of your leg. And your left arm wraps around behind you. Unwrap, unravel, unpretzel. Put the soles of your feet together. Hold on to the fronts, the tops of your feet. Wiggle your sit bones back a little. Give yourself a tall spine. You're already in a 90-degree angle with your legs coming forward like this. But if you want to give yourself a little more stretch, you can tilt. Try to keep the natural curves of your spine, your low back and your middle back, your neck. Everything can stay in its proper alignment. As you tilt, this is stretching your insides of your thighs and your hips. Breathing gently. And then lift your torso. Keep your legs long out in front of you. You can wiggle yourself towards the top of your back, hook your thumbs, and lower yourself down onto your back. You can also just put your hands down and bring yourself onto your back. You don't have to do it in a fancy way. You want to lower yourself down and give yourself a little extra challenge. You can pause every once in a while as you lower yourself down. Just pause and pause and pause. And you're all the way down onto your back. And you put your hands on the top of your stomach, middle fingertips touching. As you breathe in and breathe out, focus on allowing your hands to rise and fall. If they do, not everybody breathes the exact same way in their bodies. Your body's unique. There are averages. There are generalities, but your body's really unique. So feel where your breath is happening in your body right now. And you can kind of move your hand maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower on your stomach. And perhaps you're noticing how your breath feels, noticing where your breath is coming in and how your breath is leaving your body. Notice the pace, the rhythm, and the tempo of your breath. And reach down and hold on to your legs. Gather your legs in and kick around and move around. This is a happy baby pose. You can keep your feet on the floor, rock your knees. You can reach down, hold on to the backs of your knees and kick around. You could hold on to your feet and turn the soles of your feet up towards the ceiling and kick around. Not everybody likes this pose, and you don't have to do a pose if you don't like it. You could also have one leg long and rock your knee. See, there's lots of variations here. Gradually, when you feel ready, you can bring yourself into any resting position that you like. You can lay on your bed, you can lay on your back, you can lay on the floor, on your mat here, you can lay on your side. Sometimes people like to put their legs up on a chair or against the wall. So you've got options here. You can sit up, for that matter, while you're resting, also fine. As you settle into your resting position, you can rest as long as you want to. You could take a nap, you could turn it into your meditation practice. If you practice iRest meditation, you could um, connect to your inner resource. If you don't know what that is, your inner resource is a simple technique where you um, create internally a um, place that is secure and filled with things that are enjoyable, comforting, easeful. And you inhabit that space internally and observe the sensation and feeling that it gives you to think about that thing, that place. So keep breathing and focusing on your rest and ease. If you feel like you want to move, move. If you feel like you're done, you can be done. We'll take 3 more breaths in our resting position. Now, gradually, as you finish your third inhale and exhale, you can start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, roll through your shoulders, move your face a little, recall your senses, noticing what you see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. Gradually, you can bring yourself to an upright position. Take your time, use your arms and your legs, use your furniture if you've got some around you. Bring your hands together and rub your hands together. Tuck your elbows in at your sides and pull your thumbs toward your sternum. Take a soft inhale and exhale. And allow your practice to come to a close by acknowledging the time that you take to take care of yourself, the time that you take to listen and stretch and balance and be connected to your body. Soft inhale and exhale. Thank you so much. Thanks for practicing with me. I appreciate you very much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to practicing with you again. Please contact comebackyoga.org if you have any questions. And please keep up with your practice and join the community whenever you get a chance. Take care, and I'll see you next time.